First things first. Any man here that wants to walk away can do so knowing they're the best of us. But it's gotta be now.
I'd like to know, is it easier to launch a movie without having to expect box office data or number of viewers, or do you like to know the reaction of the audience?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think each has its advantages. I mean, I guess the simple answer is if it's successful, you want to know, and if it's a failure, you'd rather be a secret. But I think, you know, there is a certain amount of time pressure that happens with theatrical distribution, where you not only have to get a certain number of people to see the movie, but they have to see it the first weekend. And if they don't see it that weekend, what happens is that you start to lose screens because other movies come out, knock you off the box, and so then you might lose an audience that otherwise might be inclined to go to the movie, but they would go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. The advantage to Netflix is really that it's always available all the time to people, and they can market individually to people who might be interested in your movie. So I think, you know, it'll be interesting to see how this new model plays out and whether it's sustainable.
Your characters are veterans that had to change their lives when they're not on the field, and they seem to be like very disappointed with their lives. They don't have enough money to take their children to the university. Does it really get the States? You have this notion of the disappointment or getting let down by the government. Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, if you imagine, like, in one side of your life, you work for decades and decades, and you become the best of the best of the best, and you're super excellent, and you've accumulated all these skills, and then right in the middle of your life, they say, no, that's over, you got to go try something else. I think that would be very, very difficult. Most of us are accustomed to building up skills, getting experience, being rewarded for that experience, maybe getting a better job, that kind of thing. And also, we have a society that very much prizes material wealth, and that's not a part of what the rewards are for being in the military or even in the special forces. And so you're taken from a world where you're doing something for honor and for your country and for duty, and you're put into a world where everything's just about money and how much money can you make.
This movie gets intense and intense and intense. For you as a group, how did you let go some steam when you ended your days shooting? Did you do like some bonding off camera or?
Yeah. Well, Oscar and I have been friends for over 10 years. Actually, I met him in Madrid for the first time when he was doing the premiere of Agora. Charlie and I have been best friends for 15 years, so it really wasn't hard. I mean, you know, two of my closest friends being on the same production in Hawaii, I mean, it was very easy to let off a little steam, and, you know, we talk as we always have, you know, go over the day and see how each other's doing.
I'd like to know how was your work with the actual special ops agents, and if they helped you not only to prepare the skills of your character, but the personality also of one man that risks his life for his country.
This is probably like the 6th soldier role that I've played, and so I've been through a lot of the really intense boot camps before, and you know, these military advisors really set an example, but also show you that you got to respect the uniform if you're going to put it on, in whichever facet it may be. And so, you know, I did a film with Ang Lee called Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, and we were working with very intense Navy SEALs. And on this one, our military advisors, everybody was, you know, special ops and Navy SEALs as well. And so, it's an attitude. It's a way of intelligence. It's a way of awareness. And it's a way of control that is unlike any other, and their abilities are unlike any other, and you just got to be prepared to be tested and you know, show strength that could amount to any level of what they are. But the level of the characters that we're playing are the highest tier of the military.
What would you think it's the toughest shooting that you've had in your career?
I'd say a lot of these. Anytime, in the last 8 films I've done, I've played 6 soldiers. And so not only are you worried about your role and your character, but you're worried about, making sure that you're paying respect to soldiers all around, all the ones that came before you. My grandfathers were soldiers, my father was a soldier, and so I grew up with it, and so I don't disrespect the uniform.
This movie had a lot of changes in its cast till you reached this wonderful group of actors. I'd like to know, what do you think are the strengths of this group to be the elite team you needed for Triple Frontier?
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of it, The great thing about movie making is it's a process where, the people who are meant to be doing it ultimately are the ones who are doing it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I couldn't be more thrilled than I am with both the cast going into the movie and anticipating what they would be able to do together and coming out. They're just all fantastic actors on their own, and they're all leading men, and Audria is a beautiful up-and-coming star and a great actress on her own, and so I couldn't be more thrilled with the results.
I'd like to know your opinion also about this debate that's going on recently, that Spielberg wanted to take to the Oscars some kind of ban for movies that don't use the windows, the distribution windows. What's your opinion about it?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the discussion will be in the future, but today, the rules of the Oscars are being followed by Netflix, right? They are distributing their movies like they did Roma, and they're doing Into a Triple Frontier according to the Oscar rules. As long as you do one theater in 2 cities for 1 week, then you're qualifying for the Oscars. I do agree with Spielberg, however, that you can't have a movie for awards for television and Oscars. You have to pick one or the other, right? But I think it's an interesting debate and a worthy debate, and I think that it should require the Oscars to modify their rules if they want to change it. But right now, there's no reason why Netflix can't be doing the Oscars. And I'm not suggesting that I'm voting for that one way or another. I'm just, because I'm happy to be making a Netflix movie, I think there's room in the market for both. I'm glad there's the Netflix platform. It's great for producers and anybody who wants to expand the creation of content, and that seems to be what everybody wants, both consumers and creators. But I think that there's enough desire for there to be theaters and the platform. So we can find a way to coexist together.
I'd like to know your opinion about this debate that's going on right now in Hollywood about distribution windows.
I mean, we're a company that creates content, and we love to create content, and content of all different kinds. And I think every project finds its place in the distribution chain, or the way to get made and seen by people. And sometimes that's going to be in theaters, and sometimes it's going to be on services like Netflix and platforms like Netflix. And there's also this kind of story, I think, is harder and harder to get made theatrically. And so for us, this was a fantastic opportunity to make a movie we really cared passionately about.
Netflix is giving artists a great opportunity to make movies again that they wouldn't normally be able to get made.
Exactly.
And I think our goal when we're making a movie is we want to get the most eyeballs on the movie as possible. We want people to watch our movies, and there's nowhere better to do that than Netflix. You get 135 million people watching your movie all in one weekend. You can't get that anywhere else, So we think it's it's been amazing.
Right.
It really has.
And if it's a movie and it's 2 hours long and it's movie length, it's still a movie, and it's made by great craftsmen, top flight people, top flight performers. It's still a movie. How it gets seen, I think, is not as distinguished as it used to be.
There's absolutely no difference in the process of making the movie. We work just as hard on a Netflix movie as you work on a regular theatrical movie. The process is exactly the same. Yeah.
I'd like to know your opinion if you think a movie like Triple Frontier should be banned from the Oscars just because it's a Netflix movie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's, you know, for me, it's about the aspiration and quality of the work should be what should make something eligible for an award or not necessarily predicated on a theatrical window. I think that it all really is about a theatrical release window of 4 weeks. To me personally, that seems a little arbitrary. You know, I think like you see Roma as a perfect example. It's exceptional quality of filmmaking. Just because it was made by a streaming platform and distributed by a streaming platform, I don't think that should prohibit it from being taken into Oscar consideration or award consideration at large. But you know, everybody's going to have their own opinion about that. That's just my opinion.
I'd like to know how was the work you did with the special ops militaries that helped you build the character, especially if they helped you with their personality and how your characters deal with the after.
Yeah.
Sorry. and how did they help you build the personality of the character?
You know, being exposed to those guys was honestly a real honor. You know, it's having access to like a Delta Force operative or SEAL team member is the equivalent of playing a basketball player and getting coached by Michael Jordan. You know, those guys are truly extraordinarily talented, and so there's also there's a very serious disposition to them. Their sensibility is one of sacrifice and responsibility and duty, you know, and you know, God, country, honor. So I felt very fortunate to be able to get to spend some time with them, and I felt an enormous sense of obligation and responsibility to portray them as in all of their glory, you know.
How was what was the toughest part of the shooting? Because the movie tends to get more and more intense, more and more claustrophobic, even in the middle of the jungle.
Again, I mean, it's sort of to go back to my last point. I think the biggest challenge, or the most important challenge of the film, was to portray these guys with as much sensitivity, integrity, and authenticity as we could. The physical challenges of the film, you know, were fairly minor, to be honest. I mean, I like to challenge myself physically, so I might be in the minority of actors who think that filmmaking on a physical level isn't particularly challenging. You know, there seems to be, I've noticed that actors really like this to talk about this narrative of how difficult and intrepid you have to be to work in film. I mean, I honestly, I call bullshit on that. I think it's like, you know, there's an entire legion of people and behind the scenes that's sole and exclusive job is to make our job as easy as it can possibly be. So.